I'm part of the Truth Movement. It's actually we're millions of people worldwide. And what we do is we find out the declassified information, the alternative histories, and we use the internet and to get information into people's hands. Now what we've discovered is there's a worldwide economic takeover that is going on right now. And most people in this room may not be aware of this, but most of what we've been told, most of the events of the last 20 years have actually been orchestrated. A lot of folks don't know that a very small number of very powerful individuals are actually steering the course of this planet and where we're going. So what I would like to know is how can we, and we work very hard at this, to bring the information to people's hands. And much of this
information... Yes, you do, and I want to say to you that you are doing an incredible step one job.
Thank you. Thank you very much, very much.
And in that step one job, we are only going to interrupt you briefly. We are going to let you speak. But okay. In that step one job, you have amassed what you do want in this vortex, and the universe is working on it. And so maybe we can head your question off a little bit, and maybe you still want to go further with it. Mm-hmm. Those people outside the vortex set on manipulating or controlling are causing those like you to know more clearly what you do want, creating a better economic environment that source energy is on. So if you keep talking to yourself about the power of these out of the vortex peons, we love them very much. In relationship to the vortex, then you realize, you see, it's always been, every now and again, and we will let you speak again, every now and again, Esther or Jerry or one of you will find some injustice and focus upon it. And we always like to remind you, when you get back into the vibrational vicinity where you can hear us, that everyone is selfishly oriented, and everyone is doing what they believe is best for self. But if you are not understanding the fuller picture, there are a lot of people who, in their selfishness, want what's best globally. There are a lot of people in their selfishness want what's best individually or with their little group. In other words, watch what goes on in politics. Aren't you astonished at how partisan politics are, to the point where they have lost their ability to be rational in their determination to be party loyal? They look like idiots at times as they speak the utterly implausible in order to maintain party loyalty. And yet, what we're wanting to say with all of that is that in all of that, there is a launching of desire that you as an individual or you as a group could line up with and be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And a lot of people, and we know your group really subscribes to this, believe that if you're not informed, that you can't be part of the solution. And we will go along with it, that the more detailed you are in your scrutiny of what is not wanted, the more detailed desire that you put over here into the vortex. And so future generations will benefit from the work that you are doing. But it doesn't have to be so future. In other words, if you remain as one that continues to beat the drum of the injustice of these people who are behaving perfectly normally in their seeking what's best for self, as you continue to beat the drum of that, you will hold yourself, for the time that you're beating the drum of it, apart from the solution that is ripe and ready to manifest for you here and now. So you exacerbate the problem. You become more a part of the problem by your attention to the problem. That's what we meant when we said, we love you very much, but you're step one oriented instead of step three oriented. Once you've beat the drum long enough that you've felt the gut-wrenching discomfort of the incredible awfulness of something, it's time for you to let go of the details of that and let yourself find alignment with the solution. Do you know that the more a problem comes into focus, the more an equivalent solution comes into focus? So you could say, if you were really understanding the logic of the laws of the universe, that anytime someone gets really out of hand, like you believe this group of very powerful people has, that they are contributing to a solution that is proportionate. You just have to decide, for now, which am I going to become a match to? Am I going to hold myself a consistent match to the problem, or am I going to begin to achieve vibrational alignment with the solution? And once you decide it's the solution, it's going to take you a while to find that alignment, because the problem is much more active in your vibration. And it's much more easy for you. You walk around all day, every day, manifesting evidence of the problem, because that's what's most active in your vibration. And law of attraction can't show you anything else. But over here is a solution, but you don't have access to the solution because the problem is so active in your vibration. So your world can't turn around. You can't see an administration change. You can't see someone in the administration having some reason or logic. And we want to say to you, everybody, there could be a whole lot of powerful people that hold the keys to a whole lot of things and pull the strings to a whole lot of powerful things, but they cannot buck the current of the vortex if just a handful of people become in alignment with the vortex. One who's in alignment with the vortex is more powerful than millions who are not. Here's the way you soothe yourself. And first you have to decide you want to be soothed rather than beat the drum of the problem. But this is the most important thing that we want you to hear. The more specifically negative you are, the worse you feel. Because the more specifically negative you are, the more specifically you've focused upon the problem. And the more specifically you've focused upon the problem, the more specific of a solution you've put there. But while you're specifically focused upon the problem, you are specifically out of alignment with this very specific solution. So the tug of war within you feels perfectly awful, to the point that you'd really like to obliterate the planet from these people. In other words, you'd like to do away with them. But this specific attention that you and your group are giving to this problem that you think is awful has caused a solution that you don't have access to at the same time you're focused upon the problem. But the solution is bigger and brighter and percolating and becoming. And so in the moment that you let go of the specifics of the problem, because the vortex is calling, you start moving toward the solution. And the triumph you will feel as you witness, and you will, as you witness the turning of events. It has ever been thus. There has never been a time in the socialization of humandom that these kinds of things have not taken place. And yet, you continue to expand and become. Don't you find it's interesting? In other words, you should have done yourself in a long, long time ago. If negative had the power that humans think it does, you should have overtaken yourself and you should not exist. But it doesn't have the power, and you know why? Because the vortex is the power, and the vortex always perseveres. And the question isn't, will you survive? The question isn't even, will you survive in joy? The question is, how long will you, as a feeling, vibrational individual, hold yourself apart from the amassing of the well-being that has been created by generations and generations and generations of protesters who have put magnificent things into the vortex to which you have immediate access if you will believe it and make an effort. So we're not asking you to leave your group or even to try to explain. Have you ever tried to talk a doctor out of the reality that he believes in? He will call you delusional. In other words, this is a reality. Look at this evidence. And so you can't talk someone out of the evidence that they've amassed, but you can find alignment with a different evidence and know it personally, because the manifestations will follow your vibration. Manifestations do not follow the most powerful people. It doesn't matter how many of them there are. They do not have the power to dissuade what's in the vortex. And what's in the vortex is the well-being for mankind. What's in the vortex is what you have all as individuals ask for, you see. Everyone, no matter who it is and no matter what they're asking for, every single person is asking for whatever it is that they are, even these rascals that you're talking about, because they believe in the having of it, they will feel better. So in that process, there's a vortex that has been created that you can claim if you want to. So here's the process. If you're really specifically negative, you are really creating a specifically positive vortex. But you want to say blah, 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 because you don't have access to it anyway, so just trust us, it's there. Believe it or don't, it's there. But the more specific you are, the worse you feel. And the reason you feel so bad is because the specific what you don't want has created a specific what you do want, but you're holding yourself in opposition to it, and that's why you feel bad. You don't feel bad because the world is coming to an economic end. It isn't. But you don't feel bad because you believe that that's what's happening. You feel bad for one reason and one reason only. You're holding yourself apart from specifics that you as a group have been very instrumental in creating a huge solution to which you are holding yourself in vibrational defiance to. That's why it feels so awful. And that's why it's easy to recruit others, because they want it to be different and are afraid that it will not be different. But the more specific you are, the worse you feel for the reasons that we've just stated. And you can't jump over to the specifics because you can't set your radio dial on 68 AM and hear what's being broadcast on 98 FM. The frequencies have to match up, so you can't get there from there. You can get there from there, you just can't do it immediately. So from the specific negative, you've got to find a general negative. That's the best you can do. A general negative. And if you find a general negative, you'll feel better. If you find a general negative, you'll then have access to a general positive. And from a general positive, you can find access to your vortex, and you can do it so much more quickly than you believe that it will make your head spin as fast as the vortex does. So we're going to go generally negative. If you want to, you can speak more of the specific negative if you want to. You want to hear more of his specific negative? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Where's your spirit of adventure? Where's your spirit of endurance? Where's your stiff upper lip? Where's your there's no gain without pain? Come on, come on. So they don't want to do it. So let's go generally negative. There are so many selfish people in this world that aren't looking for the well-being of the masses. There are individuals who would betray their own family if they thought they could get ahead. This is a systemic thing that's been going on for a very long time, and it's going to be hard to stop. People need to be informed about this, because if you don't face a problem, then you can't find a solution. Pretty negative, but it's softer than what you were talking about earlier. So let's get it even a little more general. I don't have to figure this out today, and I suspect this has been going on for a long time. And nobody really understands the whole economy. And the economy is big enough and diverse enough that nobody really holds the keys to all of it. And there have been all kinds of people that have tried all kinds of economic takeovers in corporations or even in nations. And most of those attempts fail because there's a bigger thing going on. And it's interesting to watch how big they have amassed themselves and how much power they seem to have gathered and how well they seem to have positioned themselves, because things keep swirling around on them. They think they've got a handle on it, and then something squirts out in another way. And they think they've got a handle on it, and then something squirts out in another way. And there seems to be a force of well-being that keeps defying it, because this same type of people have been attempting this same type of thing for a very long time, and they keep failing. On a global level, they keep failing because it's not what's in the vortex, and because well-being is in the vortex, it falls into the same category as the Earth keeps spinning in perfect proximity to other planets, and yet we as humans have not figured out how to scrape enough dirt together to launch another planet into orbit. The food still continues to thrive. There's more robust food and living on this planet than ever before. You'd think it would have petered out by now, as stupid and negative as humans are. And yet, we're speaking from your stupid human perspective there. We don't think you're stupid, but we do think you're human, and we do think you focus on things. So in that same spirit, the well-being does keep persevering. The well-being does. The pendulum keeps swinging. And in that pendulum is, we know what we don't want, we know what we do want, and the well-being keeps surviving. So now, can you feel we went from specifically negative to generally negative? Now we're getting sort of generally positive. Things do have a way of working out, and I can't control it anyway. All I can control is my own relationship with my own economy. And maybe maybe as things are not working out very well for me, I cling to these ideas as justification of why things aren't going better for me. In other words, if I'm not thriving in the way that I want to, then justifying why the whole world isn't thriving does sort of soothe me temporarily. But now I've gotten myself into something that is so specifically unwanted, and now I want to start moving more toward the solution.